Allow me to run a scenario by you. You've been booked for a gig, and you need to bring your own amp head. So you bring your trusty Marshall head. It's big, it's bulky, and it's heavy. So public transport's out of the question. So you put it in the back of the car. You drive the car, through rush hour of course, to get to the venue. When you get there, there's no space to pull in and unload, there's no space to even park, so you end up parking half-mile down the road and bringing the gear to the venue on foot. Guitar on your back, pedal board slung over your shoulder, an amplifier in hand. You of course get to the venue, and just like almost every venue, there's stairs. There's always stairs. Why are there always stairs? You get up those stairs, you put your amp on the cab, and you've got severe back pain, only to look over and see your bass player happily smiling because his amplifier fits in his gig bag. Now unfortunately that scenario is all too real. So I'm willing to try and avoid that happening at just about every opportunity. And there's certain ways that you can do this with different amplifiers. For example, lunchbox heads offer a bit of a solution to this problem. They're a lot smaller and a lot less bulky. They're lighter too. They're not really light, you'll definitely feel it if you're walking with one for a while, but a lot lighter than the bigger heads. But again, those combined with guitar and pedal board and cables and any accessories you need, you're still going to carry a lot, and it's a little bit harder on public transport and just walking in general. I think I found a solution. Micro heads. They're tiny, they weigh nothing, they're powerful, they sound pretty good. So today, I want to do a review of two of these. This is the DV Mark Micro 50 Mark II. And this is the DV Mark Micro 50M, its metal-orientated counterpart. I picked these up at a really good price, and I'll link where I got them in the description. This is not an affiliate link, and it's not sponsored. Both amps are similar in features. They are listed as 2-channel amps with clean and lead channels. However, they're not truly 2-channel amps, more like 1.5. The clean channel is always on, so when engaging the dirt channel, it's similar to engaging a distortion pedal over clean. The controls are simple and the same on both amps, and they both have built-in reverb, which is nice. They have auxiliary inputs useful for backing tracks, and headphone outputs, although it doesn't sound great through headphones. On the back there is a rather useful voltage selector, which allows you to use the amp abroad, making this a very good option for a fly rig. Interestingly, this feature is not present on higher priced DV Mark amps. There's a foot switch input, however these don't come with a switch, and beside that is an effects loop and 2 speaker outs. The amps are 60 watts at 4 ohms and 50 watts at 8 ohms. The power amp is Mark proprietary technology, and while I was skeptical at first thinking it wasn't going to be anything different from cheap Class D power, I think it is. Volume wise, these can be very loud and can almost certainly keep up with a valve amp in volume. An option to replace amps with modelling gear is always a good way to lighten your load, but I find myself needing stage volume, something that you don't get with most modelers, especially on a budget. One of these may be a good option as a power amp for modelling. These amps weigh just over 4 pounds, in comparison to something like this Blackstar, which is just under 60 pounds. You can definitely feel the advantage. Now let's hear them. Remember to take sound demos with a pinch of salt, as the cabinet, speakers, mic, guitar all have an effect on the overall sound you hear. There's a few negatives with these amps, starting with the Mark II. It's incredibly bass heavy. I had to dial the bass way back and crank the treble to get a sound halfway decent with gain. And speaking of gain, there's not a lot, ruling this amp out for most heavy playing unless you use overdrives with it. And then of course, there's the clean sound coming through the gain. It's very noticeable on this amp. But not too noticeable on the 50M, which isn't bass heavy either. An annoyance is lack of information about 16 ohm cabinets. That's what I was using for this demo, and while everything works fine, it would be nice to know what power rating it is at 16 ohms. Information that is lacking from DVMark on both amps. One major problem I think these amplifiers have is the brightness of the LEDs, and that sounds like a real nitpicky thing, but even on the camera in broad daylight you can see that there's lens flare. These things are bright, so in low light situations you cannot see the control panel at all. You are just blinded by the LED. I think it's way too bright, and if I was gigging with these, whenever gigs come back, I'm gonna have to put tape over them or masking tape or something to try and lower the level of light coming out of them. Overall, I think these amps are decent, and especially good for what I paid for them. I don't think these are supposed to fully replace valve amps. I do, however, like the clean sound a lot and will use it in some future demos, but I see these as more as a travel effective solution to amplification. That isn't half bad, and one thing I think would make these even more effective in that respect would be an emulated output combined with an internal dummy load. That way, in the off chance during a fly gig you don't have a cabinet, the gig could go on. But that's just a thought. This has been my review of the DVMark Micro 50 Mark II and the 50M. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. And just for a bonus, the reason that I actually got these amps was for a transportable wet-dry rig. So here's what that sounds like just with a camera mic, because I'll be doing a video in the future about this.